morning. You're tuning in to the Board of County Commissioners Agenda Work Session. It is Tuesday, February 8th, 2022. It is 9:01 a.m. For public attendance, you may follow along on the Thurston County YouTube channel or join by calling 360-252-9020, PIN 1234. I am Carolina Mejia, Chair of the Board. I am joined today by Commissioner Ty Menser, who is the Vice Chair, and Commissioner Gary Edwards. County Manager Ramiro Chavez in the boardroom, and as well as other staff joining us via Zoom. Today we'll start with our COVID-19 update.
Kurt Harding is attending a medical appointment, so Dr. Ademalik will take over.
Okay, Dr. Ademalik.
Good morning, Commissioners. Today is day 734 of our COVID-19 response. To date, there have been 382,782 cases of COVID-19 in Washington State, and 11,099 COVID-19 related deaths in Washington State reported so far. In Thurston County, we've had a total of 44,272 reported cases of COVID-19 and 330 deaths reported to date. In terms of our hospitalizations, we've had 2,116 hospitalizations for COVID-related reasons reported to date in Thurston County. At this point in time, we've had 173 congregate care outbreaks, with 50 that we're currently investigating and managing as the health department. Our 14-day rolling average, so cases per 100,000 over 14 days, is 2,424.1 cases per 100,000. Which is a decrease from our peak of greater than 3,000 cases per 100,000 over 14 days a few weeks ago. In terms of our hospital capacity, there are currently 81 COVID positive patients hospitalized. Our ICU capacity, so at this point in time across the county, 80.6% of our ICU isolation beds are full. 84.6% of our non-respiratory isolation beds in the ICU are full. As far as acute beds, 95.2% of our respiratory isolation beds are full, and 97.4% of our non-respiratory isolation acute beds are full in our county. At this point in time, there are 24 ventilators in use and 16 ventilators available. In terms of vaccination, to date, there have been 495,573 vaccine doses given in Thurston County, which translates into 71% of our total population receiving at least one dose, and 64% of our total population being fully vaccinated. And this includes, these percentages include everyone, birth through death. At this point in time, we are continuing to have testing at multiple clinics. This week, we're going to be at Ruth, or this week we were at Ruth. We are going to be in Lacey tomorrow, and as well as UGM on Thursday and Evergreen on Friday. In terms of the overall trajectory of the pandemic, we are seeing a steep decline in cases, and so we are hopeful that the downtrend that started, a little bit slowly after our peak is happening more rapidly. However, we continue to monitor the situation. The other key piece of information on the horizon is that Pfizer has applied for emergency use authorization for vaccine for children aged 6 months to 4 years of age. So we're waiting for FDA approval, so we're awaiting FDA review and emergency use authorization, but planning is underway for this younger age group. And with that, I'm open to any questions you may have. Thank you so much, commissioners.
Thank you, Dr. Ray. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
Yes, Doctor, when are we going to be able to open up our boardroom to the public and kind of start getting back to normal? What's your projection? I mean, yesterday wouldn't be soon enough for me, but I'd like to hear what you've got to say about that.
So when I look at case trends, some of the things that I think about are sustained decreases in transmission rates over the incubation period of the virus. So that's approximately 2 weeks. So we would be plotting those. We would be watching those trends pretty closely. The other caveat is that with the use of over-the-counter tests, which don't always get reported, we want to make sure that the numbers that we're seeing are reflective of overall community transmission trends. So again, we encourage everyone who tests positive on an over-the-counter test to report that test, and they can be reported to us at 360-867-2610. So we're watching overall transmission, including transmission that doesn't occur at a CLIA licensed or CLIA waived facility. And we're also watching trends in terms of number of folks testing positive and number of outbreaks in settings where there is a lot of testing going on. So thinking about long-term care facilities, thinking about the testing that's occurring in our schools, as well as other facilities that do weekly testing, or also have robust testing metrics. So we're watching all of those pieces to make sure that the declining cases is sustained, and that we're taking into account all of the different factors regarding community transmission. So my hope is that we'll see a continued significant reduction in COVID-19 cases over the coming days and weeks.
And so what I got out of that is 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we might be likely to get back to somewhat normalcy.
If present trends continue, and we have a sustained significantly reduced rate of COVID-19 for an incubation period of the virus, then at that point, that would be a major factor in terms of determining the safety of opening the boardroom and inviting members of the public in.
Okay, thank you.
In related to that, Commissioner, I have later on your agenda the question to the board whether they'd like to continue with the virtual meetings or not. So that would be also a point of conversation later on your agenda this morning.
Okay, Commissioner Menser?
The decline that you described, Doctor, given where we are now, how does this compare to our Delta peaks?
So right
2,000
now,
something still sounds incredibly high to me. I'm just wanting to kind of put everything in perspective.
yeah, so in terms of Delta transmission rates, we topped out at a little bit more than 500 cases per 100,000 over 14 days. So we are still higher in terms of overall community transmission. We are still seeing, so thinking about overall trends, when we've often seen a bump in our case rates being reflected also in a bump of in the number of COVID-19 patients that are hospitalized in our county. So we're over the past weeks. So it's correlated, it's correlated fairly well in our conversation. So there's the overall transmission. There's the overall transmission consideration, which is still higher than it was during much of the Delta wave. Just know that number lags a little bit. So there are fewer new cases being reported now than have been prior. So that's just another consideration. But what I will say is that when we see a spike in case counts, we're still seeing a corresponding increase in number of COVID-19 hospitalized patients at this point, COVID-19 positive hospitalizations at this point.
I don't have anything else, Madam Chair.
Thank you. My question's in relation to the COVID-19 vaccination by age. I was seeing on the documents you provided us that currently in Thurston County, 26.8% of children 5 through 11 are vaccinated. I was wondering what's the comparison with that vaccination compared to like the rest of the vaccinations the kids have to take? Are we kind of on the parallel, or are other vaccinations much higher than this the COVID-19 vaccine?
So the COVID-19 vaccine vaccination rates are, to the best of my knowledge, lower than our standard childhood vaccination rates in our county. I can take a look and try to find exactly what those percentages are and share them with you.
That would be great. I was just wondering how, if we're below that, if we're above that, if we're kind of parallel, that would be wonderful. Other than that, I don't have questions. I think pertaining to Commissioner Edwards' questions, I think we're going to have a discussion about that later. So thank you so much, Dr. A. Okay. I don't see any hands raised. So with that, we'll move on to item number 2, homeless strategies. And I see Keely.
Good morning, Commissioners. Keely Marino with Public Health and Social Services. I just have a brief update. I'll be providing an update later on for the Board of Health on Ensign Road. And otherwise, I'm just going to launch, as I always do, into rental assistance updates. So I did not receive this week's update from Community Youth Services, so I do not have those numbers to report at this time. However, at Community Action Council, to this date, they have served 3,837 Thurston County households, and they have paid out approximately $26.4 million in rental assistance and about $115,000 in utility assistance. They will their funds will come to an end, and they're shortly, but their last appointment should be around the 21st of March. That's the last day residents can make an appointment as we wait for more rental assistance dollars to come from Commerce, of which we still don't have an exact date on when those funds will be available to us. Other than that, our office continues to support the efforts of those who have been displaced from the Deschutes encampment by providing hotel rooms while we hopefully move those individuals into different situations for housing, be it shelter or permanent supportive housing, or any housing project that opens up in the next few weeks. So we're working diligently and very collaboratively with the City of Lacey, Olympia, and our homeless service providers. And we look forward to hopefully seeing some success out of that program. And that's about all I have for you today.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
Yes. Keely, are you going to keep track of crimes that are committed and attributed to these folks that are being housed now at different motels around the area?
No, I have not been tracking, nor do I keep track of the crimes that are committed by the houseless community or allegedly by the houseless community. The Lacey and Lacey PD are keeping track, and I get regular updates from Rick Walk from the city of Lacey, so I am aware. But I am not personally tracking those.
Myself, I'd like to hear from staff about those type of issues rather than have to depend on maybe or maybe not reading about it in the paper. I don't know how
What I
my
do-
seatmates feel about that.
What I can't, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize for interrupting.
No, go ahead. I don't know how my seatmates might feel about it.
What I do know anecdotally is that a number of the issues that have occurred at the Super 8 are not from residents that we are supporting, but rather people coming to the hotel that aren't part of the Deschutes support. That I do know, but again, that's anecdotal, and I'm happy to get some more details from Rick Walk at City of Lacey if that's helpful.
Commissioner Menser?
No question.
Okay. For me, in regards to Commissioner Edwards' question on I received a brief update from Mayor Ryder, so I'm in constant communication with him and other Lacey City Council people about what's going on at the Super 8. They're keeping me updated. So if it's something that's helpful to you, Commissioner Edwards, I don't mind. I'm usually getting my updates from different meetings that I attend.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. We usually have our intergroup communication, and that'd be fine. I'm just curious about how it's all mixing in with the community.
Okay. So with that, we will move on to item 3, review BoCC draft agenda. And this is for Tuesday, February 8th. We'll call to the meeting to order at 2 p.m. At 2:05, we have a presentation and proclamation for African American History Month. And I hope everyone had a chance to review it. Are there any comments, questions in regards to this item? Go ahead, County Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Edwards asked for to do a little more research and the local African American members. They have contributed to Thurston County specifically. So in your proclamation, we added 3 whereases. Let me read those 3 whereases that we added, and it starts on the 5th whereas. And it states, whereas in 1945, George Bush, Washington State's first Black pioneer, established the first non-indigenous American settlement at Bush Prairie in what is known now Tumwater, Washington. And whereas George Bush and his partner, Michael T. Simmons, built the area's first grits mill and sawmill, and Bush helped finance Simmons' logging company. And whereas in 1889, William Owen Bush, son of George Bush, became the first African American to serve in the Washington legislature. He served 2 terms and introduced the bill establishing the institution that now is known as Washington State University. I hope that meets your request, Commissioner Woods.
Yeah, just something, just try to throw some local in there rather than all national. I see Commissioner Menser's got a hand up.
Go ahead, Commissioner Menser.
On the first whereas, it says brush prairie, and I think it should be bush prairie.
Thank you for catching that.
On the third whereas, it says William Owen Bush, and I'm guessing it's O-N.
Owen is William Owen, yeah.
So those 2 typos need to be corrected. Thank you.
Good eyes. Okay. If no other comments, Commissioner Edwards?
No, ma'am.
Okay. We'll move on for an opportunity for the public to address the board. Do we know? County Manager?
There has been a lot of emails going in so many different issues related to a particular citizen, so you may be receiving testimony this afternoon on that. So, but nothing specific that I'm tracking at this point.
And I just realized after I called the meeting to order, I kind of skipped all that section. So the Pledge of Allegiance is to be led by Vice Chair Menser. The approval of the Tuesday, February 8th, 2022 agenda, and the approval of the board meeting minutes from January 25th, 2022. And we all have reviewed those minutes. I reviewed them yesterday, and I saw the signatures from both Commissioner Edwards and Commissioner Menser on that. Are there any questions on those three items? Okay, we can move on. I just wanted to make sure that we covered them. Okay, County Manager's update.
I don't have any specific follow-up from Commissioner.
Okay, and then we're moving on to consent items A through D. Item 3A, Human Resources Waiver of Procurement Policies for Professional Services Contract with Executive Recruiting Firm.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. This particular item for your consideration is to waive the bidding requirements for us to hire a recruiter, a consultant firm that will help us to reach out and see candidates to replace Ms. Shelley Slaughter as the Public Health and Social Services Director. We have, HR has reached out to a couple of firms, a few firms, and in fact, recruiting firms in which either they didn't respond, or they respond, they're saying they don't have capacity to go ahead and do this. This particular request is for the Crotman company. Is a recognized recruiting company. They have conducted over 550 recruitments for cities, counties, and other local agencies. So this particular proposal is to, again, allow us to, for you to consider waiving the competitive solicitation for professional services and authorize the Director of Human Resources to sign this contract for $35,000.
Okay.
I do have one question on that, Madam.
Ed, sir.
What budget is gonna pay that $35,000?
This will come from Public Health and Social Services.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Menser?
Nothing, thank you.
And how's that budget doing, Robin? Just as a follow-up to Commissioner Edwards' question.
The public health budget overall is okay.
Okay. So this won't be a big impact to something like this?
No, it's not coming from COVID funds, so we should be fine.
My next question is, for something like this, it doesn't have to be in the budget. We can just retract it from, if there's enough funds, we can retract it from the public health.
That's right. And they'll incur significant salary savings while we wait to find a director. So those can be used to pay this cost.
Okay. Thank you. Any more questions, follow-up comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item 3B. It's Commissioner's item, reappoint to Capital Area Regional Public Facilities District Board.
Yeah, for your consideration, Commissioners, is for you to consider reappointing Chris Licht to the Capital Area Regional Public Facilities District Board as a regional representative for the term of March 1st, 2022 to March 1st, 2026. Last week, Commissioner Mejia had some questions related to this particular board and commissions. If you like, I can walk you through some of that again at your request.
I'm okay with that, but questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No, ma'am.
Questions, Commissioner Menser?
No.
And I don't have any follow-up questions on this item. Thank you, Ramiro. Okay, moving on to item 3C, Auditor, Financial Services, approval of the voucher list. Any questions, comments on that? Okay, and then item 3D, Another item from the auditor, approval of the voucher list for January 24th, the week of January 24th. Any questions?
No. Thanks.
Okay. So now on to department items. Items 4A, it set a public hearing regarding operations of the Black Lake Special District. County Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. This particular item is for you to consider setting a public hearing for Tuesday, March 8th, 2022 at 3 in the afternoon, or soon thereafter. Here in this room, this building. This particular public hearing is for you to receive public testimony as a result of a filing of a petition to consider the suspension of operations for the Black Lake Special Use District. You had many conversations related to this item, and as a result of after an executive session, the board directed me to bring this item for you to consider setting a public hearing. This afternoon, Elizabeth Petrich, our deputy prosecuting attorney, will be presenting this item and will provide a broader perspective as to how this particular item is before you for consideration. Any questions?
Questions?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
No.
Hearing none, we'll move on. Public Health and Social Services, item 5A, Healthcare Authority contract, and then both 5A and 5B are connected.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, for your consideration. Item 5A is for you to accept additional grant from the Washington State Healthcare Authority to continue with the LEAD program. That will be the Law Enforcement Assistant Diversion Program. This particular amount is for $1,113,152, and that will be the performance of this contract will be until June 30th, 2023. As you heard in the past, this pilot program, the LEAD program, has been extremely successful. And the latest numbers that I've received is we have received over 100 referrals since this program was put in place, which includes all the many different partners on the law and justice system, as well as the law enforcement agencies. Out of the over 100 referrals, I believe 2/3 or 75% are referred by law enforcement, which is a very successful program. Item 5B is related to item 5A, and this is for you to consider an interlocal agreement to use the Gelada case management system, which is a requirement by the Washington State Healthcare Authority for us to utilize this particular software to see all the information related to those individuals involved in this program. The second item, 5B, includes an amount of $74,080. So Mariana Noguera is here to answer any questions related to those two items.
Okay, questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions. Plenty of coverage on this. Thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Menser?
No.
No questions from me. Thank you, Marianne. Okay, moving on to item 5C. 2022 request for proposals for social services. And I see Tom Webster. County Manager.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for your consideration is to authorize the issue for the request for proposals for soliciting projects for funding related to the Federal Home Investment Partnership Act, the Affordable Housing Fund, also known as House Bill 2060, and the Homeless Housing Fund, House Bill 2163. These applications will be reviewed by the Regional Housing Council, and as a result of that review, they will be presenting recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners to award those awards. Also included in this RFP solicitations for the Veterans Assistance Fund. Those applications will not be reviewed by the Regional Housing Council, but rather be reviewed by the Veterans Advisory Board. And as such, as a result of that review by the Veterans Advisory Board, they will provide recommendations to the board to award those contracts. The federal funding associated with particular request for proposals increase from the home dollar 700,000 and CDBG funding total approximately $1 million. Local funding also for the 2060 House Bill 2060 amounts to 500,000. For the House Bill 2163, about 400,000. For the Veterans Assistance Fund, that will be $75,000, a total of $2,675,000. And Tom Webster is here to answer the questions.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
Yes, I do have a question. Just for clarification with the public, this is going out for a bid to see who's going to get the contract to help in these different areas? Is that right?
That is correct. So we solicit proposals, and so generally there's multiple awards that are made depending on the fund source and the amount of funding. So it's usually more than one contract depending on the fund source. I also did want to add, to addition to what the county manager said, is your AIS should have an update. Recently, we did receive approximately $300,000 from the state that we just learned about the end of last week for consolidated homeless grant funding. So we'll be adding that to this RFP as well. So there is some additional consolidated homeless grant funding that we received from the state. But you're correct, Commissioner, that we do solicit proposals and applications and multiple awards to agencies. The intent is to award multiple awards.
Again, just for clarification for the public, is there any chance about halfway down, it refers to Thurston County Public Health Social Services Department to receive applications related to services by contract for homeless and affordable and veterans or something? I just think the word contract needs to be in there. Otherwise, people don't know exactly. That's just my take on it. I'm just trying to clarify it, you know. I don't know what my seatmates feel about that.
Let me see if I understand your suggestion. On the motion, you like to add the word contracts?
Yeah, just so the public knows this is a bid going out. We're gonna have several contracts. I get asked once in a while, hey, what do you mean by that? Well, contracts pretty well says what we mean. That's all.
Okay.
I'll say later, once we award those, we will come back and ask for your approval to execute those contracts, those recommendations. So this is just to issue the request for proposals. So we'll receive those applications with the intent to issue contracts. So happy to add some clarifying language.
Yeah, just an attempt to issue contracts or something, somehow. I know it's kind of nitpicking, but a lot of times the public likes to know what we're doing. That's the only reason I asked. I know what you're doing. Thank you.
And I don't have a problem with the word contract being added in. Commissioner Menser, questions, comments?
No.
Okay, and I don't either. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to item 6A, resolution to apply for a grant from Salmon Recovery Funding Board for an unnamed Dempsey Creek tributary at Shawn Drive Southwest.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Items 5, 6A, and 6B are related, and this is for your consideration to approve a resolution for the Department of Public Works to apply for a grant. And this is a little bit of unusual, as I've stated in the past. And this particular funding source requires a legislative action for the county to submit an application for us to receive funding. And this is a request for you for item 6A and 6B. 6A is for $50,000, and that will be related to an unnamed tributary to Dempsey Creek, and that crossing the Shaw Drive southwest. And the second item, 6B, is for $80,000, and that is related to help funding for the fish spitter removal project on Thurston Creek. crossing the Thurston Creek Road southeast. And Elena Fernandez is here to answer any question related to the two items.
Thank you so much. Alina, any comments?
No, Mr. Chavez actually, summarized things very well.
Okay. And is it Elena or Elena?
Elena.
Elena. Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, ma'am.
Questions, Commissioner Menser?
No, covered this last week.
And I have no additional questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our standing items. Item 7A, commissioners will report on board work sessions and assigned committee meetings, providing updates on actions taken as well as upcoming issues. Item 7B, the county manager will review the Board of County Commissioners schedule for the week of February 8th, 2022. And item 7C, we will adjourn. And then at 3:30, if all goes well, we will pick up with the Board of Health. So with that, we will be finishing our Board of County Commissioners, and we'll move on to item 4, which is the review of Board of Health draft agenda. And I will hand this off to the chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Mejia. Board of Health meeting will kick off hopefully around 3:30, and we'll have approval of agenda and meeting minutes from January 11th to review. At 3:35, there will be 2 proclamations, one for American Heart Health Month, and a second for Children's Dental Health Month. Ben Miller, Todd, how are you doing, Ben? Subbing in for Kurt this morning.
Morning.
Anything we need to know, last minute changes or anything on the proclamations you wanted to let us know about?
No last minute changes. We have a 5-minute presentation that'll be done by Preston Wallace, one of our paramedics in the community, regarding cardiovascular health.
Okay. Commissioners, Commissioner Mejia, any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Edwards?
No, sir.
Okay. Mary Ann, anything you wanted to let us know about on dental health? I know you said there were some guests you had planned or something like that.
We will have Katrin Palmer from Choice Regional Health Network will share a short bit of information as part of the proclamation presentation about the ABCD program. Some good news that's happening, and they're mentioned in the proclamation, and that's part of that piece.
Okay. The public will have the opportunity to address the Board of Health, 4 minutes per citizen under item 3. Item 4 is Ensign Road encampment update, and Keely Marino is back.
I'm back. Keely Marino with Public Health and Social Services. Today, I will just be giving you a rundown on Ensign Road and activities that have occurred there, various sweeps that have been and cleanups that have been executed by the City of Olympia, how many people remain, how many households remain, what happened to the vehicles. Just anecdotally, who are the folks that are there? Where are they now? What is the plan? So just a general overview of actions and the folks that are, and where are they now?
Commissioner Mejia, anything you'd like to clarify this morning on this item?
No, sir. Thank you.
Commissioner Edwards?
I just maybe would ask, that old adage, a photo is worth 1,000 words. Any chance we could have a couple of photos to show what's going on over there on the Ensign Road area so the public can get a little better sense of it?
I can ask the City of Olympia if they have any photos that they're willing to share. I do not have any photos in my at my disposal, but I can ask the City of Olympia for a few. I'm sure they have some.
Recent photos, I guess. That's like, I don't know. Okay.
I mean, I can drive down Ensign Road and take a picture and have it ready.
Well, I hope somebody's in the area checking on it, because I'm hearing from the public it's not satisfactory. So
I know that the City of Olympia is Kim Conrad, the homeless coordinator, and her staff are there every day.
Okay.
when they make their rounds. So, but I will ask if there are any photos.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Keely. Item 5 is again, I think the typo from that I pointed out last week has not been corrected. I don't think the title of this item is correct.
No, it's not.
In terms of the House bill.
Is,
I can't hear, I don't hear what you're
is
saying.
that's the engrossed second substitute House bill? Is that what you're talking about, Commissioner?
Is that correct? E2SHB? Okay,
Yeah.
never mind, stand corrected.
Yeah.
This item is about comprehensive public health districts, and Ramiro, you're listed as the contact. Is that going to be you presenting this item?
Yes, Commissioner. You will have 3 parts of this presentation this afternoon, and I will tag team with Kurt Harding. The first part of the presentation will provide a high overview of to what this new law is intended to do. Then I will move into give you a perspective as to the Washington State Board of Health rulemaking, and give you a perspective in terms of the timing and all that what is included in the rulemaking high level. And then we'll move into give you some timelines as to when you will see a proposed legislation related to this item. So those will be the 3 elements that you will hear as part of this presentation this afternoon. Any questions?
Commissioner Mejia?
No questions.
Commissioner Edwards?
No questions.
Okay. Good. I don't at this time either. Board of Health members, related health activities, health officers report, Dr. Abdulmalik, and then director's report, and Kurt will be back for the meeting this afternoon is what I understood you to say, Ramiro.
Yes, he will be in attendance this afternoon.
Okay. Our interim public health director will give a report and then we'll adjourn. So that will cover Board of Health for today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. So moving on to reviewing the Board of County Commissioners draft agenda for February 15th, 2022. And I will not be present for this meeting, just to let the other commissioners know. Do I hand this off to Commissioner Menser, or do I still lead through this meeting, Ramiro?
Yes, please. He will lead this, and as you will review the items, Commissioner Mejia, if you see any items that you would like to move, that you'd like to participate on the discussion, please let me know. And at this point, Commissioner Menser should focus on managing this meeting.
Okay, very good. So we would call the meeting to order at 2 p.m. Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Commissioner Edwards. We would look at the agenda and board meeting minutes from today's meeting. The public would have opportunity to address the board as per usual, and the county manager update, county manager, anything to alert us to.
Yeah, thank you. I will follow up with any particular items that might need follow-up based on this afternoon's public comment.
The consent agenda has 4 items. Item A is an auditor item, service agreement contract with Runbeck Election Services, Inc.
Thank you, Commissioner. You may recall back in December 14, 2021, the Board of County Commissioners approved the county auditor to purchase a Runbeck Agilis ballot sorting machine with Runbeck Election Services. That particular purchase already occurred, and it cost just about $230,000. This item is related to the services that we need from this particular outfit, and the $38,600 is for 5 years. So this particular item is for you to consider authorizing the county auditor to sign this contract, and again, to provide services to this machine that we already purchased. And for the performance of the contract, it is 5 years for an overall total of $30,600. And the county auditor is not asking for any budget adjustments. It's already included, I believe, in his her budget.
Commissioner Edwards, questions on this item?
No, sir.
Commissioner Mejia?
No questions.
Okay. We'll stick with the auditor for item 3B, resolution to reclassify 2 positions.
This is a follow-up to the decision the board made during the 2022-2023 biennial budget as a request of the county auditor's policy level requests. So this classification it includes 2 elements. 2 financial analyst positions will be reclassified to 1, a senior financial analyst, and the other one is to a senior management analyst. The reclassification to the financial analyst will have an increase in compensation from $7,504 to $8,726, or $1,222 per month, or 16.28%. The reclassification to a financial to a senior management analyst, it will be the impact on the salary will be from $7,504 to $9,509. That will be about $2,000 a month, or 26.72%. This was discussed again with the board during the budget process, and it's already included on the current budget. Any questions?
Commissioner Edwards, any questions on this?
No, sir.
Commissioner Mejia?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay. Item 3C is treasurer item regarding write-off of uncollectible personal property taxes for 2021.
Yeah, you every year the county treasurer goes through the process to and go through the uncollectible taxes on the past year, and this particular items for you to consider. To authorize the county treasurer to write off those uncollectible taxes. This includes the 2 elements. Mobile homes. For mobile homes, they have either destroyed, have not been found, for a total cost of $345.78. Also, there are many businesses accounts, totaling just about 47 businesses accounts. That includes a business close, or there's no assets, or they're incorporated into a different business, the business just closed and against no asset, and also many bankruptcies of those businesses. This totals $40,956.69. So the overall request for the tax write-off is $41,302.47. And I believe we have Eric Sullivan from the Treasurer's Office to answer any questions the board may have. Oh, he can provide this from perspective.
Good morning.
Morning, Eric. Any questions for Eric or Ramiro? Commissioner Edwards?
No, sir. I think I'm good with it.
Commissioner Mejia?
No questions. Thank you.
Chair, maybe one thing. Are we having an unusual number in that business section because of the COVID activities where a lot of businesses closed?
Was that a question for me?
Yeah, Eric, it is.
Oh, that's kind of hard to say. I do try to collect on these as long as possible. Usually these ones that I find out that are actually closed. I usually been working on them for about a year or 2. So some of these, could have been prior to this even happening by the time I find out about it. But I would say that I think just my personal looking out, and the delinquencies are a little bit on the rise when you look at the smaller businesses that we continue to work with. So I personally would say that yes, it does have some type of effect.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Eric. Looks like we're good on that. Item D is the auditor's financial service voucher list, and the board can raise any issues once we review that this week for next Tuesday. 4A is a human resources item, award contract for classification and compensation study. Maria Ponte, Director of Human Resources.
Thank you, Commissioner. Let me give you a perspective. Back in 2018, the Board of County Commissioners adopted the 2019-2020 the Thurston County Strategic Plan. One of the key initiatives was Initiative 18. They tasked human resources to conduct a comprehensive review of all job classifications and to perform a benchmarking analysis of peer employers in the region. In May 25th, 2021, the board authorized the Director of Human Resources, Maria, to go ahead and issue a request for proposals to secure the firm to conduct this particular program. We received 4 vendors, 4 proposals, and the proposal before you is to consider awarding the contract to Seagull for a cost of $170,000. This already is included on the budget, and Maria has additional perspective in terms as to how that process went through. Maria?
Can't hear you, Maria. Nope. Doesn't say you're muted, but we're not hearing you. Nope.
While you work on the technical issues, Maria, maybe I can provide how the proposals were evaluated. First of all, one item was the responsiveness of the written proposal in the scope of services, the qualification, experience, and ability of the individuals to provide the services requested and the request for proposal requirements, history of meeting project deadlines and successful completion of the studies and the scope of work with similar public employers. And the 4th criteria was a fee structure of costs associated with developing, conducting, and presenting the study. And again, Seagull firm was the top firm, and we have been negotiating a contract with them, and this is the last step in the process. We can go ahead and start working on this class and comp study countywide. And if you have any questions that I cannot answer, I can take those and maybe bring the answers for next week.
Any questions that folks know they're going to need to have answered? Commissioner Edwards?
No, sir. I think I'm okay with it.
Commissioner Mejia?
I do. My
Yeah.
question's in relation, how did this, and maybe this is a question that either Ramiro or Robin can answer, how did this come through on the budget that we had set aside for it? Did it come out kind of what we thought, less, more?
I think that this is approximately what we anticipated in the budget for this contract. It might be a little higher, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it was what we were expecting, and we were expecting to have that contract last year. That didn't occur. That amount was carried over and your decisions for the 22-23 budget.
And when is this contract set to start? When are we going to really start with the market study for all the classifications?
I believe as soon as the contract is signed, we can start working with the firm to dive into the specifics.
And how long will this contract take?
Again,
Like how long?
I nod your head off if I'm off on this one, but we expect hopefully they will take us all the way to 2023 with some recommendations along the way. So we don't expect to have, complete everything all at once. It's going to be by phases, and it's going to be ongoing issues. So perhaps you may see some recommendations as a result of this study when you see at the end of the year. But again, we'll continue to do that, and I believe by the schedule by early 2023, maybe by the spring, where we will be completing the whole study. And I see Maria nodding on my schedule.
Okay, and how flexible is this contract in terms of like adding positions, removing positions that we want to do the market study on?
So this is not necessarily related at the position specific level, is classifications as a whole. So there's many classifications, not necessarily how many positions are within those classifications.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, thank you.
Following up on that, it says classification and compensation study, but you're saying it's only going to review classifications?
But no, the classification, I was just referring to the question Commissioner Mejia asked, if how we're going to add in positions. This is not related to a specific position for classifications as a whole, but it also includes the compensation study of those classifications that we'll be reviewing. Yeah.
So like salary ranges for a classification?
Yeah. And that can go either way, you know, based on the baseline that we have. So not necessarily would translate on salary increases. It may be probably they go a different direction. Yeah.
You said there was, you hoped to have this last year, but it didn't happen. Why didn't it happen? Why are we,
You know,
what was the delay?
Honestly, the delays resources, human resources, and Maria's staff was really concentrating on continuing to respond to the pandemic in 2021. There was a lot of work that needed to be done in terms of providing the COVID leave, preparing policies related to that. We spent a lot of time in extending the testing associated with the vaccine mandate. So all that is really the result of they not have enough resources to continue with the contract, but here we are. So hopefully we can pull the trigger and start moving forward.
Does our staff have to be like, how involved does our staff have to be in this process? Or do we just hand it off to a consultant and they go to work, or are they working hand in hand with our folks along the way?
There will be a survey to employees and those individuals involved with those classifications. They will provide feedback to the consultant. So the consultant is not going to assess the revisions of the classifications and the salaries that are within the classifications activities without having that sense as to what those individuals that are in those classifications see how their job duties are. So that's really is a process that is going to involve the employees, it's going to involve the supervisors, managers. So it's not going to be a unilateral approach. Did I answer your question, sir?
Yeah, that's good. Ready to move off this item? Board? Okay. Thank you, Maria. Sorry you had a technical issue there. Those are frustrating. Let's go to item 5A, which is an information technology item, renewal of Microsoft support agreement for technical assistance. I feel like I've seen this one before.
Yeah, it's a yearly request for the board. As you know, the county uses Microsoft products, includes the Office 365, Windows SharePoint, SQL Server, and Windows Server as a whole. And we seek expertise and assistance from the Microsoft technicians when we have issues as an overall course of business. This is a yearly contract, and we will ask for you to consider waiving the competitive bidding requirements to enter into this contract with Microsoft Unified Support Services for $81,731. Again, this on a yearly basis, we have been utilizing this particular contract since 2014. And Dennis is here to answer any questions.
Commissioner Edwards, anything for Dennis?
Dennis, how much was this contract last year?
I think it was, I think it went up close to $4,000, Commissioner.
And sole source is just because we're using their product and they service their product, right?
I could speak to that a little bit. For the most part, when we get Microsoft products, we get licensing, and those are sold through resellers who are all on state contract. This service is directly through Microsoft, and as it turns out, Microsoft is actually not on state contract. They go through all the resellers. That's how they're on state contract. So that's why we have to get a sole source to go with them and not just use a state contract for it. And yes, it is what you said. We're pretty much a full Microsoft shop. This gives us access to high-level support as well as proactive things such as we've came in and had security assessments done by them. And then whatever support we don't use, we could also use those hours for training of our staff on their products that we need.
By any chance, does this require review by the internal auditor on the sole source portion of this?
Yeah, I believe the documentation is attached. Brandon Weber did review this.
I just want to make sure we do it right. Thank you.
Commissioner Mejia?
Yes, I do. Commissioner Edwards asked one of my questions, but my next question is going to be, how much do we use this service on a yearly basis?
We use all of it. So right now it's just getting ready to expire and we only have a few hours left. What we do is as the year goes on, whether we need high level support, then we kind of trade those hours off and use training for it as well to make sure we don't leave anything on the table.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dennis. I'm good on that one.
Did anyone else hear a little bit of feedback, or I just want to make sure it's not my speakers that are
Yeah,
messing
No,
up?
all of us did.
It
Okay,
happens from time to time. He
from time
blasts
to
it.
time, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was Microsoft letting us know that we needed to do that contract.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dennis. All right, next is Public Health and Social Services, item 6A, contract with Confluence Consulting Northwest for the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Consultant. And Keely, and County Manager, what is this one about?
Yeah, in 2021, the Regional Housing Council set aside funds to a one-time award of $150,000 of local, from the local document recording fees, also known as House Bill 2163. Those funds will be dedicated to address racial disparities in the homeless crisis response system. We conducted a request for proposals back in October 5th, 2021, where the board authorized to go with this request for proposals. And the result of that process is for you to consider awarding this contract to the Confluence Consultant Northwest. And again, it's for $150,000 and also includes an amendment for up to not to exceed 10%. Keely?
Yes, so that was a great summary, and we did have a review panel that we went through a slightly different process than we normally do with reviewing and scoring and then recommending contracts and awards. We reached out to the homeless crisis response system, specifically agencies that are working directly with the houseless population, and asked the executive directors and managers to identify or offer to any of their staff members that have lived experience or who are Black, Indigenous, or people of color, or just really felt compelled to participate in this process to come forward and help us rate and score these applications. We also came together and had a very collaborative process on what the scoring might look like. So that review panel, we met for a good hour and some minutes to create the scoring mechanisms that were very unique to this process. And we received 2 applications, and we spent our due diligence and scoring and ranking those. And this is the result.
Questions for Keely, Commissioner Edwards?
I don't know if this is for Keely or the county manager, but I thought we hired an FTE to deal with this type of thing.
This is specific to the homeless crisis response system. The Department of Commerce in 2019 asked for every county to come up with strategies to address racial disparities in homeless crisis response systems. And so this is part of that effort. This is specific only to the homeless crisis response system and not specific to our office or the county as an agency.
And this is being paid for by Commerce then?
No, it's by the document recording fees.
Well, I don't know if I'm thrilled about taking direction from Commerce and spending our own money that maybe could be spent better elsewhere, especially if we've got an FTE that is supposed to be doing this. Why couldn't that FTE handle this as well?
No, because that's outside of their scope. This is very related to the homeless crisis response system. And the FTE that we hire is for standing and managing the Racial Equity Council, as well as the external and internal areas of the county. So the FTE that we hire to do this will be, it's related, it will be outside of her scope of work. And this has been discussed at the Regional Housing Council. And the Regional Housing Council made an effort to set aside the yearly allocation from the document recording fees, which includes counties and the cities' document recording fees dollars. They were emphasized this particularly.
And to be clear, this is not a mandate from Commerce. This was a collective decision made by the Regional Housing Council by recommendation of staff.
So just to follow up on that, so you did say they wanted us to develop strategies. It didn't necessarily have to be this. This
Correct.
was our response to that call for strategies, was to hire this person. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Commissioner Edwards, sorry, back to you.
No, I'm good. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Mejia?
Keely, and then the 150,000, that's what was initially allotted. This conversation happened a while back ago, so I'm having a hard time remembering. Was the $150,000 what was allotted, or was it more?
It was 150,000.
Okay. And this has been a long time coming. This happened in conversations last year, and it's been, it was the beginning of last year that the RHC had conversations about this, and it's there's been some struggles trying to find someone that has experience in this specific field. So that this is why it's taken so long to come to this point. I know that the RFP had to be kind of extended quite a few times just because there wasn't enough applicants with the correct experience coming through. So this was one of the goals that the RHC did set last year, and I'm glad that we're finally coming through with it, and that we received 2 applicants that were qualified, and that out of those 2 we were able to come through with 1.
Chair, I do have one follow-up.
Go ahead, Commissioner Edwards.
Keely, what is the expected outcome after we spend this 150,000? What are we going to have in hand? I mean, a document to guide us through certain ways of doing business, or what? I'm just trying to figure out what do we get for this 150,000?
There are 2 main deliverables that have been defined in the RFP. One is to vet the strategies that were that currently exist in the 5-year homeless crisis response plan by steering committee. So the number 1 outcome of this process is for there to be a standing steering committee for the homeless crisis response system to address issues around racial disparity, comprised of community members and those who are already working within the homeless crisis response system, those with lived experience, either as people who have experienced homelessness or who are Black, Indigenous, or people of color, to be steering the homeless crisis response system and providing strategies for us as we move forward on infinitum and into the future. So those are the 2 main deliverables. Part also of this process is that there will be deliverables that are decided upon by that steering committee, recognizing that there are, since the process was written primarily by myself, I'm taking account for the fact that there are certainly some things that I could miss when identifying deliverables. So number one, we have a steering committee to move us forward into the future and to ensure that the strategies that we've identified within the homeless crisis response plan are vetted by those who they most impact.
Okay, thank you.
Question, would the board members would like to keep this item for next week, or you like to move to the 22nd?
Commissioner Mejia, I guess, would you like this to be taken up next week, or would you like it to be moved?
Just however my seatmates are feeling, I'm in support of it just because I sit in the RHC and I've kind of seen the progress through it. But if there's debate about it, then, you know, we would have to move it on to the week after.
I do have a comment on that, sir.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I'm almost thinking that the full board ought to be here when this comes up for a vote. That's all.
I'm gonna agree with Commissioner Edwards on that. Let's put this on for the 22nd.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you, Keely. Next item is also under public health. It's 6B, interagency agreement with Washington State Department of Health for Tri-Lakes groundwater study.
Yeah,
I see Art Starry and I see Stuart Whitford, Environmental Health Program Manager.
the whole crew. Commissioners, for your consideration, we have received a grant from the Washington State Department of Health for $116,424, and for a performance contract from July 10, 2021 through December 31st, 2022. And this to conduct groundwater studies on the Tri-Lakes areas of the county. That will be Lone Lake, Patterson Lake, and Hicks Lake. And that will be to collect groundwater quality and surface water quality data and calibrate the groundwater flow to transport into a model. So I know, Art, you want to take on, or Stuart, like to elaborate on this?
Well, I'll just introduce it really quickly. Commissioner, Ramiro summarized it really well, but I do want to introduce Stuart. I don't know that you've met Stuart before, but Stuart's our program manager in charge of our water resource programs. So when you've talked about pollution identification and correction and other things that we'll be doing in the coming year, Stuart will be in charge of that, and he's got a wealth of experience from Kitsap County, Jefferson County, and also working for the city of Shoreline. So we're very fortunate to have Stuart, and Stuart is the one who worked on this contract with the State Department of Health. And if you have any specific questions about it, he can do that. But I do believe that this work is important because it does allow our county's hydrogeologist to refine the groundwater model that he has, that it can be used to protect the water resources. Both the city and the county water supplies and private water supplies within the Tri-Lakes area. And it actually helps address a need that was identified years and years ago. Actually, if you go back to the McAllister work done in the 80s, but also the work that was done when we had pesticide pollution associated with agricultural activities outside of the Tri-Lakes area. And also this same sort of work was identified as a need as a result of the septic summits, both of those that took place, where they're trying to identify pollution sources, or have a better handle on pollution sources within the urban areas and the urban growth management areas that might affect these water might affect our city water supplies and our county water supplies. So again, having this information, being able to have the resources to do the sampling, to be able to help our hydrogeologist calibrate the groundwater model will be very, very useful for everybody, I believe, all the citizens. So I didn't mean to take Stuart's thunder away, but this is, I think, a really important project, and I'm hopeful that you'll authorize us to go ahead. I'll let Stuart carry on with any other information and respond to any questions you might have.
Well, first of all, I'm really excited to be here at Thurston County after about 26 years at Kitsap Public Health, and Jefferson County Public Health, and the staff here is really excellent. So you guys must be very proud of that. So this project really is a follow-on to the parallel project we're working on Scatter Creek to sample wells for nitrates and bacteria to check on the potential impacts of, septic systems on that aquifer. And that project, the sampling is done, and it's in the final phases. And from this point, it's really about calibrating, the model. And, for Kevin Hansen, to work on those things, and we have to issue a final report. So this is the next project. And actually, just as a reminder, these kind of projects are required by the on-site sewage code, which is, in section 16, the O&M section, we're required to do these types of studies to measure the impacts of septics on groundwaters in Thurston County. So this is one of those projects. So I guess that's mainly what I wanted to say.
Commissioner Edwards, questions on this one?
I don't think I have any questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Mejia?
I am very happy that we got a grant for this.
Yeah.
I have a question. County Manager, I heard 124,000, but I'm seeing here it's 116.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's 116,000.
Okay, I was like wondering if,
$125. Yeah.
okay. And there's no match to that. It's just basically, that's great. Okay.
Yeah, it's 100%. It's non-federal funds. It's direct. It's a great partnership between State Department of Health Drinking Water Program, CPED, and then my shop here, Picking Water Quality.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. I wanted to know, well, first of all, welcome, Stuart. Great to meet
Oh,
you.
thank you. Yeah.
The experience that you bring is very welcome. I think there'll be a lot of people in the community really excited about what you're going to be able to help us do. I think we've got a lot of septics and a lot of questions that I think we need to dig into. So we're happy to have that. And on this particular grant, I'm curious about the lake management districts. Do they know that we received this? Can we plug that information in? I was just at the Long Lake annual meeting a week or two ago, and they were talking about the need for more water quality sampling. They were asking us to fund it. I mean, and this didn't come up. So just letting you guys know that I think they would be extremely excited to hear this. And so any way you can maybe work with Tim Wilson or Paula, who work directly with the lake management districts, to get that information out there, is probably going to be well received. And I don't know how to get, Pattison and Hicks, they've got community groups too that are discussing lake management districts. So there's definitely, I'm sure, points of contact for those two lake communities that would love to hear about this.
Yeah, one of the first tasks of this project is we're doing a mailing to priority well owners, public and private, about 143, of which we hope to get 60 wells to agree to sampling. And so we'll be doing some outreach in that way. And some of those will be, living on or, close to those lakes, et cetera. So, but also we can definitely reach out to, the groups that might be out at those lakes and, give them an idea of what the project is and provide them updates as needed.
Okay, thank you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Great news on this one.
Mm-hmm.
So item 7 is public works item, and 7A. So we've got 2 public works items. 7A is request for proposal for a landfill groundwater reporting services contract. Jeff Bickford, solid waste manager. County manager, what are we doing here?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. As you know, we have a closed landfill on the Hawkesbury area, also known as the WARC, is the Waste and Recovery Center. This landfill was closed in April 2000. And as a result, we have the obligation to monitor the leachates. That will be the groundwater contribution as a result of the closed landfill. And which requires a lot of testing, a lot of analysis, laboratory analysis that we don't have staff or the resources in-house. So this particular item is for you to authorize the Department of Public Works to go with a request for proposals to request proposals related to this particular services at the work. Jeff?
Good morning, commissioners. Yeah, the county manager described it well. I will go ahead and add that it is correct. They are just requesting that the board allow us to release a request for proposals. And while our staff actually takes the groundwater samples and then we submit those to a testing lab, which is separate from this, they give us back the results. However, this proposal or this RFP will then be seeking a company then that takes all that data from that we get back from the labs and generates both quarterly and annual reports that we have to submit to the Department of Ecology as part of our permits. Additionally, the Department of Public Health also gets that information. So again, we do not have the expertise. Basically, it requires a state certified hydrogeologist to prepare this information. So the current contractor is a company called AEG, but it is now currently time to put this out again for an opportunity to get proposals. And then willing to answer any other questions.
Commissioner Edwards?
Jeff, have we been doing this since 2000?
That is correct, yes.
And have we changed contractors several times during this process, through the bidding process?
Actually, we probably have, since I haven't been here that long. I don't know the exact answer. I can get back to you, but the company that's currently has been doing it for at least 5 years.
And so we've got kind of a running log of all these reports that we've been gathering and sharing with the Department of Ecology.
That is correct. And we do have a retention that has, as far as document retention standards, that we do have to continue to hold all these documents for a long period of time.
And when you say law, I mean, we keep them kind of forever?
Indefinitely, yes.
Yeah, okay. And I guess as you go out for bids, is this like a 5-year contract? Is that what I'm hearing?
Right. It would be, it'd be for a 5-year term. It would be an annual with annual opportunities to renew up to a period of 5 years.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Mejia?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, me neither. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Let's go to the last item here, 7B, contract award for biosolids hauling and disposal services.
Thank you, Commissioners. Also, as you know, we have 3 wastewater treatment plants in a way. One is located at the Grand Mount, Thomaston, and Boston Harbor. The result of the treatment of these solid or the biosolids that we receive in those plants results on the biosolids and wastewater that needs to be disposed of. So just to give you a perspective, we produce among the 3 just about between 30 and 50 dry tons of biosolids annually. The biosolids obviously needs to be transported and disposed of. And in this particular request is for you to consider awarding the contract to Tribeca Transport. It will include the transportation as well as the disposal of the biosolids. This is the result of the December 23rd, 2001 request for proposals where we received only 1 application, I believe. And this is the result of that process. On the screen, I see Joe Peluda to ask, provide additional perspective, be able to answer any questions related to this contract. And the contract's for $825,000, and that includes 10% of any deviations because the initial amount was $750,000.
Any questions for Joe? Commissioner Edwards?
Yes, what budget does this come out of?
This would be coming out of our utility operating budget.
And is that part of general fund?
No, this will be from the Grand Mount, Thomaston, and Boston Harbor utilities.
And does Lot use this same system, same process to get rid of their sludge as well?
So Lot treats their sludge to a higher standard. They treat it to Class A standards. So they have more options for disposal where it can be recycled as a soil amendment. So they do not send their sludge to other treatment plants for further disposal or for land application like Thurston County's facilities do.
So Lot, I guess does a better job dealing with their byproduct, I guess, is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, Commissioner. They treat to a higher pathogen removal standard, which allows them more options for disposal, including the resale of that material as a soil amendment. We don't have the facilities at any of our treatment plants to treat to that level. So we have to haul the sludge either to plants for further processing or for land application.
Does Lot have the capability to deal with our product?
They used to take septage. We have approached them about taking the county septage, and they have stated they do not have capacity for it.
What does Tenino do? I'm told Tenino is looking for a way to be running at full capacity. I'm not sure I have that right, but I'm trying to think of a different way that we can do it so we come out with a better end product than maybe what we're doing, and maybe we don't have to haul it as far.
I can't speak to Nino. I know that they treat to reclaimed water standards on the liquid portion of their waste. Their solids, their biosolids, I would have to get back to you on how they dispose of those. I do not believe that they digest them or treat them to Class A standards at the same way that Lot does.
So they might be shipping as well?
I believe so, yes.
Have we got adequate money in that budget to deal with this?
Yeah.
And do we raise that money through fees that we charge to those customers?
Yes, this is paid through utility rate revenue.
I don't know that I'm satisfied with this. I mean, we get a lot of stuff that comes in front of us. I'm not sure we're doing the best we can for the environment on this activity. That's all. That's why I'm a little hesitant and asking these questions. I don't know where my seatmates are on this, but I suppose cost always comes into play here as to what we can afford. And, you know, I'd like to see it incinerated or something like that, but, you know, probably that's too cost prohibitive or something. But, I know there's a lot of scrutiny about depositing these products on, when you put it on the ground, what happens to it, how does it affect the environment, you know, water quality, all that kind of stuff. So if I sound hesitant, it's because I am. So I just, I'll wait and see what my seatmates have to say, I guess.
Commissioner Mejia?
My question's going to be in regards to kind of the availability of the budget. And I know you set aside some funds, you know, from ARPA for kind of some changes. And I was wondering how those funds play into this, or do they not at all?
Those funds, the ARPA funds, do affect both the Tamashan and the Boston Harbor utilities, and we'd be looking to make improvements to the sewer collection system. So that would collect the sewage from the residents in each of those communities. They would not impact biosolids disposal costs. So this expense will persist in spite of that ARPA funded work.
Okay.
I would also add, Commissioner, that the ARPA money is being used for one-time improvements where the disposal of biosolids is an ongoing operational cost.
Okay. My next question is, how long is this contract for?
That's a good question, Commissioner. The contract is for a term of 5 years, and similar to the solid waste contract that Jeff covered, we're looking at a 1-year initial term with 4 one-year renewal options.
Chair, could I have another question?
Go ahead, sir.
If Commissioner Mejia's.
Go ahead, sir. Yeah.
As we're moving forward during that 5-year time period, does that contract have a get out process that without a penalty or something, say new technology became available or a process that we felt was better became available, I guess. Is there a get out clause, or do we have to go the full 5 years, or what's the deal on that?
No, Commissioner, we could choose not to renew that contract after the initial 1-year term, and egress that commitment, at which point we could either make further capital investments in our existing wastewater treatment facilities to treat to a higher level, or contract with another biosolids disposal contractor.
Oh, okay, and we've been doing this for a number of years for sure. So it isn't like we have to change things overnight, but I guess I'd be interested in exploring some other options. I don't know what that would entail at this point. Okay, thank you.
Well, Commissioner, I have one thing to add. We are also in the process of, we just finished reviewing proposals, and we'll hopefully be presenting the results of that to the board for award of a contract for wastewater facility planning for the Grand Mound wastewater treatment plant. That process will give us an opportunity to have our consultant reevaluate the biosolids disposal study that was completed a few years back, and maybe even look at some alternatives for biosolids disposal.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I don't know that I have any questions. Commissioner Edwards raised Tenino, and I feel like Tenino was thinking about developing capacity to do this, but I don't think they've gotten there. But it's something that maybe we could, something to keep our eye on if it would help us, help them and help us possibly with an alternative. I know with law it's a big deal to create that kind of biosolid class. And isn't there, I may be wrong about this, but I thought there was even a level above what lot does, that you could take it to like another level of like cleanliness or whatever.
First County does that. And they take it another notch where they produce actual fertilizer, and they produce pellets, and they have a commercial arm associated with that. So it is another notch, as you stated, Commissioner.
Okay, yeah, I'm not, because I know there was like lot does, what it does, and I've seen it with my eyes, and I've seen the facility and toured it. It's good, and it's, as you say, it allows you to sell it to Eastern Washington farms and things like that. But there was something else that we didn't do, and that was even more expensive to do. And anyway, it takes a lot of infrastructure and expense to create those products. But okay, well, very interesting topic. Thanks, Joe.
Would the board members would like to keep this item for next week, or would you like to have a conversation among the three of you for the 22nd?
I do have one more thing I'd like to add.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I'm wondering, we're probably not going to do anything tomorrow, that's going to make any changes. So if we're only in there for another year and then we could make some adjustments, I'd certainly like to probably look maybe at what Pierce County does and compare the difference in cost between what they're doing and what we're doing, and what that end product does, not only for the dollar but for the environment. So I'm okay with it being on there, I guess, because I don't think we're gonna solve this either this week or next week or, you know, I think we're gonna have to have some discussions about it, or I would hope we would. So that's all. I'm good to leave it on there myself.
Okay, so we're good to keep this item on, so thank you. And that will close up the review of February 15th, and it's 10:35, and I'll pass it back to Madam Chair for a break or whatever she wants to do. Hint, hint.
Yes. Let's go ahead and take a break for 10 minutes. It is 10:35 a.m. and we'll be back at 10:45. Thank you. You're tuning into the Board of County Commissioners agenda setting. It is 10:49 a.m. We're picking off on item number 6, proclamations and awards.
Good morning, Amy Davis, Clerk of the Board. This afternoon's proclamation for African American History Month is included in your packet, and we will make some grammatical revisions prior to this afternoon. We will have some members of the Racial Equity Action Council and a few others that Nicole Miller has invited for us. That is all I have.
Questions, comments?
No questions, ma'am.
No.
Okay. Moving on to our next item, item 7, advisory boards and commissions.
Yes, included in your packet are a few that we are revisiting from last week and a couple of new items. First, for the Agriculture Advisory Committee, the current roster was requested last week, and that is included. Neither committee staff nor I have received formal resignations of any members. So members who have indicated that they would are still listed on here. So this is here for your review, and I'm happy to take questions.
Question, Commissioner Edwards?
Are we slated to make any appointments? Is that on
At your direction,
coming up?
if you would like.
Are we kind of hanging fire on some of that stuff, Commissioner Mejia? Or maybe the ag thing is one of the things. I just wonder.
Last I heard, we were going to wait for the handbook to be ready.
Okay.
So all the members could sign it before we appointed new members on there. And then there's only one vacancy right now, since we have not received those other 3. They did resign at the meeting, but we haven't received a formal letter from them saying that they are resigning. So not sure where that stands.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Commissioner Menser.
So the only person listed here is Chris Dolman, and is that the only application we have for a, I thought we had others.
I'd received one other application that was shared a few weeks back. So I'm continuing to share applications with you, knowing that you'd prefer to wait.
Okay,
until
but
the
when I
handbook is
get
set.
this, on this report, I'd like to see all the pending applicants, you know, not just like who's the new one this week, but like a running tally of who's there to be considered, even if it was from 3 months ago. If we didn't make a decision to not appoint them, you know, then we should know that, because otherwise it's confusing. We're relying on our memory, and that's faulty, at least in my case at times.
Sure, yeah, we can update this.
I guess maybe on that topic, could I follow up, sir?
Yeah, go ahead.
I did have an opportunity to talk to the scribe from the Ag Committee yesterday, and she said that there's that Glenn Charno is still an applicant and has been at every meeting since he applied. And I take it, that's maybe in anticipation in case he would get on. I mean, he's been attending every meeting, I guess.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. I knew he had applied, but I don't see his name. That's why I'm asking Amy to include his name, so I know that he's still out there.
Where we're at on that process as well. But
It sounds like we've got, even if nobody did anything at the last meeting, we had one pre-existing farmer slot and at least 2 farmer applicants. So, you know, if nothing else, we could talk about that at some point. And then are these all the other, oh, you're gonna go through the other boards, sorry. Because I was just wondering, like, Planning Commission's not on here. We have vacancies on Planning Commission. I know there's people that have applied because I've got their applications sitting on my desk. So I'm just wondering why they're not, why is Planning Commission not listed here? And are there any other boards with vacancies not listed here?
So I have just a comment. So for the going back to the Agriculture Advisory Committee, while we're preparing that handbook, it would be, we have 2 applicants. We have currently just 1 position open. So it'd be great to get a recommendation from the advisory committee. That's what we've usually done, is gone back to them on the next appointment. But not take any formal action, I guess, until we have the handbook ready. And
Madam Chair,
yes, sir.
under the Ag Advisory Committee, like Commissioner Menser has pointed out, there's one on here that says new appointment. Does that mean new application then, rather than new appointment? I guess.
Yes, he would, if seated, he would be a new member versus a reappointment.
Yeah, but he's not an appointee. He's just an applicant.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, good. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, we'll revise the report, not like on a total of many different vacancies. And we'll bring that for next week for the conversation. I would assume that probably before the board decides on any particular appointments, unless you have enough information today, we may want to wait until the 22nd until the 3 board members are present on the conversation.
Sure. That makes sense. I thought maybe Commissioner Mejia, she said this several times, wanting to get the new book, I guess is the best way I can, new rule book accomplished and completed, I guess, before we move forward on it. Is that right, Madam Chair?
Yes, but my recommendation was, while we get the new handbook, that the committee, I'm not sure when their next meeting is, can go ahead and make a recommendation on their, because they have 1 position that's empty.
So, Madam Chair, what you're suggesting is to bring the application for Mr. Chris Dolman as well as for Mr. Shorno back to the advisory committee and ask them for their feedback as to which of the 2 would like to recommend as a potential appointment. Is that the recommendation that I'm hearing?
Isn't that what we've usually done?
No,
I'm just wanting to follow what we've usually done.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. I just want to clarify what the recommendation was.
Yeah, my seatmates agree.
And that'll be sometime after next week's meeting, right? Yeah, that makes sense.
Can somebody remind me, maybe Amy, maybe you remember, when we appointed Mercy McGee, it was her and Mr. Shorno as applicants for a farmer position. And we didn't have, that was the only position, because I remember we had to choose, and we said, Mr. Shorno might be a good candidate for a later position. So now we've got a farmer vacant. I can't recall. So did somebody else step down that I'm not remembering? Why do we have now another farmer position?
It was, I believe, Richard Makemeier's position that is now vacant.
Oh, okay, got it. And then if the people that we had thought had stepped down at the last meeting, that would be a farmer, a non-farmer, and a non-farmer, and we don't have any. So potentially there will be 2 farmer spots, potentially, for the 2 applicants we have, but we would then, and again, this is if that played it out the way I'd heard about it, then we would have 2 empty non-farmer positions and no applicants. Does that sound
correct?
Right?
Yes.
Okay, all right, I think I got it.
Yeah, it will maybe probably in 2 weeks when you review this item, you may have the formal resignations from the 3 members that stated that at the last Ag Committee meeting. So, yeah, it seems like this particular committee is evolving as we move along. So,
Just one more point of contact. If possible, I'm going to stick with my recommendation from some time back to appoint Mr. Shorman. So that's kind of where I'm at. So anytime another commissioner feels that's the right way to go, I guess we got two, so that's where I'm at on that issue.
So more to come on that, or?
Yeah, I'm-
Recommendation from Commissioner Edwards is for you to consider Mr. Shorno's appointment for the vacant farmer position. That's what I believe that is.
Well, that's where I'm going,
Yeah, so,
but I want to be respectful of Commissioner Mejia's position on, we're waiting until we get the book out or something. I mean, I want to fill the position as soon as we can, regardless of what we do.
So let me clarify perhaps. So you want to wait, but you still you still recommended Mr. Shorno's appointment, but you want to wait.
Well, I want to wait if that's what Commissioner Mejia wants to do. That's all. But if not, if we're just going to fill the position, he's been there, he's attended all the meetings. I'm trying to make the committee, we've had a little turmoil in that committee, I guess, and I'm trying to make sure that the committee functions as good as it possibly can. And I know he's been in attendance, but he does not participate in any votes or anything. He only, I guess, only speaks when spoken to or something, as a citizen. He's not on the committee. So I'm just trying to hurry the process along. If we've got other positions coming up, maybe we can fill them.
Sorry, Commissioner Edwards, I'm sorry. I'm not sure if someone's, it sounds like typing, but it's kind of cutting off on what you're trying to say. I apologize. Does someone have like their microphone on? Did you hear it?
I think it's maybe Microsoft and Dennis, getting this whole contract or something. They want it signed right away, because that's what happened with Dennis
Are you
too.
hearing the background music? Is that what you hear?
No. Did you hear it, Commissioner Menser?
It was Amy's.
Oh, it was Amy's mic, so she just turned it off.
Okay, sorry, Amy. I was just hearing your typing as
Do you
Commissioner
want me
Edwards.
to repeat that, ma'am?
Please, sir.
I was just saying that sometime back when we made some appointments to the board, one of the people I had recommended was Mr. Shorno. He's the biggest farmer in the county, I'm told, and has a lot of expertise, and he has been participating. So, I mean, I'd like to put him on the board. I know we don't have the book done yet. I don't know when we're gonna get the book done, but we've got these pending resignations coming up and everything. Well, maybe it'd be worth it to put him on now if another commissioner agrees with me, or maybe both of you, I don't know. We've not had that discussion. I'd opt to put him on today and get it over with. It isn't like he's an unknown or something, so, but that's up to you guys. If I get a second towards that nomination, I guess.
I don't know Mr. Shorno. I do know Mr. Dolman. And so I agree with Commissioner Mejia that usually, I know the Agriculture Advisory Committee gave Mr. Shorno a strong recommendation, but that was before there was another applicant and that was for a different position. So I think it makes sense to have them weigh the merits of the two. Because there's nuances, right? It's like cattle farmers and dairy farmers and urban farmers. And I mean, I know we want to balance the committee out as broadly and as possible. So I don't know exactly what the committee needs. I would kind of leave it to their recommendation, or I would at least certainly consider their recommendation as to who's the right subject matter expert. So I just kind of like to let them do their process, which is what I understood Commissioner Mejia was saying. They've got 2 applicants now for a new vacancy. They can give us a recommendation. It very well may be Mr. Shorno for all the reasons you said, Commissioner Edwards. But I'd kind of like to have that since I do know the new applicant and I don't know the old applicant.
Sure, I'm good with that too. I'm not arguing one way or the other. I was just trying to push it along, and that all makes sense. So good.
Yeah, so the recommendation is to push this on to the advisory committee to make a recommendation on the current vacancy just Mr. Shorno has been waiting for a while, and he has been attending the meetings. I've seen him there, and he's been very active. But just with this one, I feel like just with another farmer member coming forward and interested in that position would be, the advisory committee can make a recommendation on that, and then we can hopefully by that point, once they've made a recommendation, the handbook will be done, and we can go ahead and move for an appointment. Amy, with that being said, how far are we on the handbook?
We are working on the resolution to accompany the handbook. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we can bring that when the full board is available.
Okay. Okay. If I don't see any more questions, I know that Commissioner Mensert had mentioned beforehand that if there were any other vacancies in other committees that he would like to see them. Commissioner Mensert, do you want to?
Well, at least if there's an applicant. I mean, and again, the Planning Commission is an odd one because we commissioners have the authority to bring nomination forward, but it's just good for me. I think it's just good to kind of know where these stand. So I was just wondering why, and I only mentioned Planning Commission because I know that there's a vacancy in an applicant. There may be others, but I was just wondering why that wasn't listed on our sheet.
We'll bring a report including the running total of the vacancies as requested.
I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry, sir. I just wanted to say, just to add to your point, I think it would be great to see kind of, just to Commissioner Menser's point, to see all the names and all the applicants for different committees, even if they're full, just so we know like who's applied to something, and have that on a rolling basis, just, because when there is a vacancy, we can go ahead and be like, well, there was this applicant, why don't we just appoint him or her? So I think it would be useful what Commissioner Menser is suggesting, because, just with the Agriculture Advisory Committee, I've had in my mind that Mr. Shorno applied, but just from this, like, you can't really tell just from, it just shows that Mr. Dolman has applied. So just having, I think, a running list would be very useful. Well, Commissioner Edwards?
Yep, thank you.
And then for the Planning Commission, I've received a total of 3 applications so far. I know the vacancy is mine. And I've heard from other people who have called me interested in the position that they were going to apply as well. So I've just kind of been waiting to see if more people will apply, and I hope to bring a recommendation sometime soon to the rest of the commissioners. But I just wanted to update both of you, and I'll be sending all the applications once I receive them all to all the commissioners so they can view them as well.
Thank you.
Amy, I'll hand it back to you so you can.
Next are 2 applications for reappointment to the Board of Equalization. These are from John Morrison, a member of the BOE, and Ted May, an alternate member. Both of their applications are attached and no others have been received. As a reminder, members of the BOE serve until his or her successor is appointed. So would you like the chance to review these and circle back next week?
These applicants are extraordinarily qualified. And if there's no other applicants, I'm fine with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're okay, Commissioner Mejia, we can bring those appointments for next week, or you want to wait for the 22nd?
No, these can go on next week. They seem very highly qualified, so, and they've been serving on there, and we don't have any other applicants, so I don't have a problem with this.
Thank you.
Chris Hoffman's application for the Historic Commission was provided last week as well. We had some discussion on the required qualifications to be appointed. So I've attached the Historic Commission one-pager. You'll see the list is quite lengthy and intricate, but Mr. Hoffman does meet these and would be able to fill the vacant District 1 seat, and no other applications have been received. Would you like to move forward with this appointment on next week's agenda as well, or more time to review?
I have no problem with this one. Oh, sorry. Commissioner Edwards.
No, I don't either. You're good.
Commissioner Menser.
Yeah, given the vacancies, let's get them going.
Yeah, so I have no problem with this one either.
Thank you. Lastly, just circling back on John Wager's application for the Storm and Surface Water Advisory Board. That was included last week as well. Is there a direction to include him also on next week's agenda for appointment?
If I remember right, there was a letter of recommendation from the Storm and Surface Water Advisory Board, wasn't there?
Yes, from the chair.
Okay. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, I'm good.
Commissioner Menser?
I'm good based on the letter from the chairwoman.
Okay, so this one can be added as well. I don't have a problem with it, Amy.
Thank you.
So just to confirm, if I may, so we'll have 2 items for the 15 related to the Board of Equalization for the appointment of Mr. John Morrison, Mr. May. And also you'll have an appointment, a new appointment to the Historic Commission of Chris Hoffman. Then we'll move on to the Storm and Surface Water Advisory Board to Ms. John Wagner. That's what I have.
Okay, anything else, Amy?
No, that is all.
Okay, we have no further questions. We'll move on to the next item. Okay, item 8, PIO check-in.
Good morning, Commissioners and County Manager. Brian Dominique, Public Information Officer for the Board. A few updates today. On Thursday at your Commissioners check-in, I'll be presenting the 2022-2023 Communications Plan for our office, along with our 2021 Community Engagement Report that just highlights some of the activities we took part in last year. Next, tomorrow morning, Commissioner Menzer is going to be hosting our first Coffee with the Commissioner of 2022 with Wayne Graham from the Prosecuting Attorney's Office and Jason Mortensen from the Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Organization on the Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion, a pilot program. And in addition, just a couple more updates. The Water, Woods, and Prairies local history book that the Board of County Commissioners granted to the Olympic Historical Society. They still have copies of that available for sale. Those can be found on their website. And finally, 2022 property tax notices will be mailed out tomorrow. We put out a news release per the Treasurer's Office direction. And this would be a good time to highlight. In October, we did a coffee with Commissioner with the Treasurer, and he talked about property taxes and everything like that. So if anyone's interested in learning more about property taxes and how they're valued and everything like that, that's a good resource. We'll be sharing that on our social media accounts as well. If any questions, that's all I have.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Menser?
No, thank you.
Okay. So with that, we'll move on to our next item, item 9, legislative update. County Manager.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to walk you through. I'm not going to be going through all of them. The status, we have updated the status of each of those bills for your review. I just want to highlight a couple of new bills that have not been included on on your past report. This is mainly related to WASAC support and what WASAC is tracking. The first item for you that I have for you is House Bill 1065. And this is related to vaccination. It's a new section to the still of which I'm going to read you that first section. No law, rule, or order by any government or private entity shall require the receipt of any epidemic or pandemic vaccines, including vaccines used to prevent the SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19 for any reason, including but not limited to, as a condition of employment, school attendance, professional license, educational certification or degree, admittance to any place of business or entertainment, or access to any mode of transportation if the following have not been met. 1, the vaccine has been licensed for use by the United States Food and Drug Administration. And 2nd, the vaccine product has been evaluated for its long-term potential to cause cancer, impaired fertility, mutate genes, and cause of immune and neurological impacts. And WASAC is supporting this bill. Next bill is the INGRA's substitute House Bill 1329. Let me get to my notes. $1329, it is related to public meetings. In this bill, the summary encourages public agencies to provide for remote access for meetings of their government bodies and to record and post recording of meetings online for at least 6 months. Requires the government bodies to provide an opportunity for public at or before every regular meeting in which final action may be taken except for an emergency situations. Allows the public comment requirements to be satisfied by accepting oral testimony at a meeting or by providing an opportunity to written testimony to be submitted prior to the meeting. As you know, you have a public testimony area on your Board of County Commissioners. That's a legislative action that you take. This proposal will make it a requirement. It also requires the governing bodies upon the request of individuals who, because of disability limited to mobility, of any other reasons will find a physical attendance at a meeting will provide the opportunity for remote access. And WASAC is in support of that bill. Moving on to page number 2. And that is substitute House Bill 1638. In House Bill 1638, it states it allows prohibitions of consumer fireworks adopted by cities and counties to take effect after 90 days rather than 1 year. It also allows counties and cities to immediately prohibit the use of consumer fireworks due to the environmental conditions after a consultation with the local fire official. WASAC is in support of that bill. Moving on to page number 6. And that's Senate Bill 5514. And then you get to my notes. This particular bill is related to a couple of county commissioners meeting, authorizes the county legislative bodies to hold regular meetings outside of the county seat for up to once per calendar month. So this particular legislation will allow you to have meetings, regular meetings outside of the county seat and to a maximum of once per month. And WASAC is supportive of that. And the last bill that I'd like to touch base with you is on the last page, is Senate Bill 5687. I'm going to find that. 5687 allows for addressing certain traffic safety improvements within the county. And my recommendations for you to remain neutral until we know if this bill is moving forward into the legislative process. And sorry, I stand correctly. I have one more bill that is not included in your list. We'll order for next week. And I just got information related to House Bill 2026. And this bill would replace the current vehicle registration fee with a per mile charge, placing the revenue into a new road usage charge account. This will potentially have a negative impact to the ability of maintain the county roads, since the Rural Trust account, which is managed by the County Road Administration Board, if this bill passes, will be almost a loss of $4 million in a biennium. And that is a concern that we need to track. And I will touch base with BoCC to see where they are in the 2026, House Bill 2026. That's all I have for you today. Any questions? And next week you will see a much reduced list, since most of these bills have not been able to move out of committee or executive sessions. And as a result, those will most likely be dead. As you know, sometimes those dead bills resuscitate during the budget process, but we'll keep track of those. But for the most part, if they not make out of committee, those are considered dead number. Yes, sir.
Under 1965, it says referred to rules 2 on 2/7, which is yesterday. What does that mean? Is that good, bad? Do we know what happened yesterday?
19. Let me get cut off the few.
What's the bill number, Commissioner?
1965, it's the county's bill.
So generally, when it moves to rules, it has been moved out of committee, it's been moved to rules, and rules will decide whether or not it gets pulled to the floor. So it's in a good place, but it needs to move out of rules.
Yeah, and it was a move out of committee on a partisan basis. So.
Okay, wasn't a particularly partisan bill, I guess, but I guess because of the tax implication.
Yeah, I think it was strong arguments on this, and but against it. That I think is a good, at least for our bill, is moving forward. So we'll see what happens next.
Thank you. Is only question I had.
Commissioner Edwards, questions?
No, I think next week will tell the tale.
Start bringing it up.
Okay. We'll move on to item 9. No, we already covered item 10. Briefing, public hearing, decisions pending.
Nothing is pending, Madam Chair.
Perfect. And then 11 commissioner items. So we'll go with item 1, board meeting draft ordinance.
Yeah, thank you. I have attached the ordinance the board reviewed. I believe the last review the board had was on February 2021. And also that was, I believe it was held a public hearing related to this particular proposal. All that what I did is I incorporated all the comments based on the February 2021 version. But in your packet, I added some recommendations on page 4, and that is related to in the minutes area. And this is the result of the board giving me direction to bring this matter to your attention again. And I would like to probably see where you want to go next on this particular ordinance. I think this is a good ordinance. It provides clarity in terms of how the board conducts their meetings. And really, I think it complements the current ordinance that we have in place. And Elizabeth is here to provide perspective, feedback. So I'd just like to, and I provided you a copy, I believe a couple of weeks ago, for you to review this. So hopefully you have the opportunity to review that as well.
Questions, comments, Commissioner? Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Munzer.
So this new language on page 4, it says the minutes shall consist of video or audio tapes together with written action minutes. And then it says what those will include. I'm a little concerned about that because it makes it sound like the minutes to be complete have to require a video or audio tape and a writing. And I know we always strive to audio or video, but there's definitely been situations where equipment was down, whatever, and we brought a human being in to physically write things down, and we thought that was okay. This says to me that wouldn't be okay because we don't have a video or audio tape. It almost like requires something that I don't think the law requires us to have, and I'm uncomfortable with that.
Yeah, I brought this language from Kitsap County, and again, this is just for your conversation. And it is just a suggestion for your consideration.
I mean, if you said something like, shall consist of video or audio tapes or both, if they exist, I'm making it clear that if we've got them, then that can be part of the minutes, but we're not agreeing that we have to do that, or else it's an insufficient, it's an insufficient minutes.
So if maybe if exists or if available, you're
I would defer to Elizabeth as to how that ought to be phrased, and even if I'm right about that, I'd like to hear her 2 cents. That was just my concern reading it.
I agree with Commissioner Menzer that it would be better to, I think, honestly, just stick with the written minutes, because that is what is assumed to be required under the law. And the videos and the audio tapes, I mean, they're good information, and we make them available whenever anyone wants them and when we have them. But to have it in your ordinance, you're putting a higher burden on yourself than required by the law.
You could pull it out, for example, and say, you could take all that and put it after the definition of minutes and just say audio or videotapes, if created, will be provided for public inspection or something, in a reasonable time. Just taking it out of the definition of what minutes are, because that's not what minutes are.
Yeah.
Any other feedback? Well, I'll work with Elizabeth on the language. Maybe even move it under section 2.02040, which talks about meeting attending by telephone and video conferencing. And that way, if something's available, we'll find a way. I think that's a good perspective. Elizabeth?
I do, if I may, make a suggestion. On that section you were referring to, 020, I think I like the structure of how we've added all regular meetings under that. For our regular daily meetings, I think it would be prudent to say that the board shall hold regular meetings between these dates. And then you always have the opportunity to cancel as provided in another provision. But when we say may, it might be confusing to the public when they're happening.
You're looking at 202020?
A.
Okay, Will.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's probably good.
And I don't think it's required for B, because quarterly meetings we don't have them all the time, and so we don't have to say we shall have them all the time. And then the other place I would suggest is in 020 paragraph C, related to regular budget meetings, because we do have to have regular budget meetings, and we do know the dates, which are either first Monday in October or first Monday in December. And instead of saying may be held on these days, I would recommend saying shall be held on those dates. And that's paragraph C.
Because there's really no any other options. Either it's the first Monday in October and December, so they shall certainly shall apply.
Yeah.
Any other feedback, commissioners? Elizabeth, Robin?
Yes.
Go ahead, Commissioner Edwards.
I see that Senate Bill 5514 looks like it's going to change something if it passes that we wouldn't have to worry about if that passes in the next week or two, or whatever it is. Then that'd be one section out of our ordinance that we wouldn't have to be concerned about.
As any new law that applies to this ordinance, there's always an opportunity to amend it when the new law takes into effect. I don't think at this point will be prudent to wait, if that's what the suggestion, because we don't know how that is going to turn out.
Then my next question, I don't know who this would be for, but Mr. Pettit's correspondence, I don't know, Monday or Tuesday, or no, Monday, I guess it was, that I saw with the Attorney General's letter. I think the letter was to him, not to us, but are there things in there that, I mean, is there any reason we've been waiting a year to do this? Is there any reason we wouldn't want to communicate or ask for a legal position? Apparently, that Attorney General was sent a copy of this draft ordinance. Is that the way I'm reading that? And made suggestions back, but not to us? Is that what happened? I really don't have it down as far as what the Attorney General, it was a little bit confusing to me. So I'm just wondering, why not ask the Attorney General for an opinion? Don't we sometimes do that? I mean, sometimes we rely on old opinions and sometimes we ask for new opinions. What would be wrong with asking the Attorney General, if it's in dispute, kind of get the okay from the, I don't know, highest lawyer in the land or something, I guess?
I disagree with the word dispute, but that's a perspective.
Well, yeah, that's the citizen's perspective, right.
And my read of the Attorney General's email, it was an opinion, outlines in one of the paragraphs the legislative authority for you to pass an ordinance in which you define when you meet and the time in which you meet as a Board of County Commissioners. And this is the tool that you have done. And this is the tool that you have, the Board of County Commissioners have practiced for years. And it has been evolving this ordinance as to how you determine the time and place as to where you meet as a board. Obviously, not in the position to argue.
Yeah, no, I mean, I respect that. I'm gonna fall back on Martin Luther King, you know, it's always the right time to do the right thing. And I don't know if we're doing the right thing or not, but I just want to do the right thing. That's where I'm coming from. And I would like to make sure that we don't have anything questioned anymore on this topic. And
well,
that's all.
While putting Elizabeth on the spot, you have your attorney present, and you have your attorney who has worked with you in the past in drafting this resolution. You have your attorney who has been behind some of the proposed changes, including this resolution. I don't know if it will be appropriate, with all the respect, to ask the Attorney Generals whether your attorney's perspective on this is accurate.
Just a bit of clarification on what kind of things you can ask the Attorney Generals. If it sounds like you're asking for an opinion from the Attorney Generals, and elected officials certainly have the opportunity to ask opinions on specific issues. You can't ask the Attorney General to review your ordinance. But you can ask them if you're unsure of a interpretation of a particular statute and you have some facts to provide, they may take that up. But that process, if you do request it, can take several months. And then again, it's only an opinion. It's no different. It doesn't have any more weight than my opinion, or if anyone were to go to court to challenge us.
Okay, I was thinking maybe it was a way to put this to rest, but maybe it never gets to rest. If there's always going to be a dispute, eventually it'll end up in court, I guess, someday anyway, right? Is that, well, we don't know that. I guess there's that possibility. I know we're trying to get it done, and I think we're trying to get it done right. So I'm not questioning our attorney's deal. I thought we go to the top dog, so to speak, and we get the final answer, and then nobody can question it. But it doesn't sound like that'll work either. So,
I'm gathering comments on this resolution, Commissioner Mejia. Sorry.
Yes, I have questions in regards to kind of on the regular daily meetings. We received public comments about having that open from 8 to 5 the last time at our previous public hearing, just because we're not specifically setting a time to it. And so with that being said, I mean, I believe one of the public comments we received was like, since you're leaving it kind of open from 8 to 5, that means that someone can go into the back and film, or, and because it just leaves it open to a whole public meeting every time. And so I was wondering about that specifically. Do we have to have specific timeframes?
I think that's a good question. The board has always, the preference of the board is to have it open-ended. You certainly can have specific timeframes, and you generally do have a rhythm to your meetings in terms of, you have your regular agenda settings and your commissioners' check-ins and your briefing schedules. So if you wanted to be responsive to those comments, you certainly have the option of putting in time periods during each of those days.
Could I have a comment on that, ma'am?
Go ahead, sir.
I don't think, more right probably isn't the term that you would use. But 8 to 5 does give a lot of leeway, but does that boil down to a more open government or a less open government? If we had, I mean, we could come in and, I'm not saying we would, but we could come in and just say, hey, we're gonna have a noon meeting and we're gonna talk about this, that, or the other, and we're all legal. We don't have to do notice. Is that what I'm hearing then?
No, you need to post that agenda 24 hours in advance.
So it always has to be an agenda before we take any action, has to be posted 24 hours in advance.
Yeah, that's state requirements, OPMA.
Okay. I mean, so we just don't have an open.
You won't be able, in case of an emergency, and I think the OPMA allows for some
Right.
emergencies, but
If the building's burning down.
yeah, but for the most part, you wouldn't just come and meet this afternoon if we have not posted an agenda or we have not posted on the calendar. So that is not part of this ordinance.
Right, okay.
It'd be like, I think there's been times where something's happened, say on a Friday morning, and it's kind of an emerging issue, and we could post an agenda and have the board take it up Monday afternoon. but we don't typically have Monday, regularized Monday stuff. So if it wasn't in the ordinance, we wouldn't be able to do that. Like we'd be forced to wait till Tuesday to take up something because the ordinance says Tuesday is our regular meeting versus being able to notice up on Friday, a Monday afternoon meeting and get to business quicker. And there's been a handful of times that that's occurred. In fact, a couple of times that, the note, I remember once or twice, the notice didn't get done right on Friday and we did have to wait, but that was a different problem. The question is, should we have that ability to convene to address an issue on that much notice? To me, that's already giving quite a bit of notice. We can't just walk into the boardroom and start talking about something. We have to give the public their full period of time with the posted agenda. And I think that, to me, that really covers the open government piece of it. But I guess we did look at we went round and round on this before we finalized the last draft, and we looked at some jurisdictions that did, maybe Elizabeth remembers, there were jurisdictions that did lay out some times. It wasn't just one time a week, but it was like Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 to 5 or whatever. That gave a little more parameters to it, but then they weren't able to do certain things on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday that, it'd be hard for me to imagine us getting all of our stuff done.
Yeah, we did investigate some of the jurisdictions, and you recalling correctly, Commissioner Mincer, in not naming the counties, but some really was, they only met for 10 hours a week. And it was stated in the ordinance that they only met on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, I think, from 2 to 5, as you stated, and that was it. And nothing else outside of that window. Here provides you the opportunity to continue to do business and serving the citizens of the county. And again, with the right posting in the requirements of the 24 hours agenda and making sure that we inform the public as to the business that you might be considering. But this really allows you for the latitude to work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
Maybe as a quick follow-up to this discussion, and apparently Elizabeth our council has the same clout that the Attorney General's deputy might have, or whomever we would ask. So Elizabeth, based on what this draft says, the adjustments that you've just suggested and Commissioner Menser has suggested, then we're 100% okay, or you get 5 attorneys and you got 5 different opinions, but if you vote, you're the only one in the room, so we're 100% okay, or legal to meet the requirements of the law as what, laid out in the Open Public Meetings Act, and seems like there was another requirement in here that we open public meetings and maybe public records, I guess. Is that, so we're all okay? Is that what you're saying? We don't have to go to the Attorney General. We can just ask Elizabeth, I guess. Maybe. Can we?
There's no guarantee. I mean, I can't guarantee anything. I could say that according to the statutes and ordinance that we work with, I think we have a defensible ordinance.
And we would possibly get that same answer from the Attorney General, I suppose, huh? Same thing, and it can still be appealed if somebody didn't like it. Okay, I'm just trying to get around the process. So we're good to go, is what you're saying?
So the question that I have for the board, based on will the suggestions on the language, the will, shall, we review the language related to the video and audio tape language, and just making the minutes a little more succinct and to the point, and we'll find a way as to if presents an opportunity to highlight the video and audio tapes, if available, to see where we have that in the ordinance. So with those changes, what will be the pleasure of the board for me to bring an AIS for you to consider approving this ordinance at a future meeting?
And then do we have to have a public hearing?
You already had a public hearing, but
That was a year ago,
yeah,
right?
but you can also have another public
I
hearing.
mean,
That's the other option.
and for the sake of open public government, I don't remember the public hearing we had a year ago. So I guess if it's a requirement that we have a public hearing and then we make a decision, even though we apparently met a requirement that we had a public hearing a year ago. I don't know if there's a statute of limitations on public hearings or not, but I think it would probably be better to have another public hearing once we get this finalized and then move on from there.
I'm fine with moving this forward. If another public hearings, I don't have a strong opinion about that. Either way is fine with me. I see what Commissioner Edwards is saying, but I'm trying to remember. I don't remember us getting more than 1 or 2 comments on it to begin with, but maybe I'm okay with that either way.
Yeah, I remember some of the comments that came forth. I think, you know, I would support a public hearing, just to, you know, if this is kind of what we've come to an agreement, I think a public hearing would be a good step.
Okay, so I'll prepare an AIS for you to consider setting up a public hearing in upcoming board meeting at 2 o'clock on Tuesdays. Thank you.
And so this will be, when will we be reviewing this again, sir?
I will make the revisions and I will distribute to each one of you and for your review.
Okay. Thank you.
Prior to you consider setting up a public hearing.
Okay, thank you. Any more comments, questions?
So related to this, Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
When the majority of the board determined to hold your meetings virtually, at that point I said that I will bring this item again for your consideration again on today. So I will ask the board how you'd like to proceed on that. Continue, not continue, or any variation in between.
Can I provide a comment on that? I was at the mayor's meeting with the South County mayors and it was all the mayors of Thurston County on Friday. And this specific topic came up and on, you know, what we should do. And it was really interesting to see how everyone is still keeping on with virtual meetings. I think Bucota mayor said that he, you know, it was a personal preference. He did not like virtual meetings. And I believe Yelm is starting to have kind of hybrid meetings, is I believe what Mayor DePinto said, but everyone else is still 100% virtual, and they've been 100% virtual since last year. That was the report, and they're going to keep on going that way. So it was just really interesting feedback, right? Because we've been we opened it up last year and we did it, and you know, right now we closed it again just because of the high rates of Omicron, but the rest of the jurisdictions, they've kept 100% virtual, and you know, or almost all the rest of the jurisdictions have kept virtual, and they're gonna, you know, keep going on that way for the foreseeable future. So I just kind of wanted to give that input that I got from the rest of the jurisdictions on how they're holding meetings. Commissioner Menser?
I'll go ahead and pipe up because we've heard a lot from Commissioner Edwards on this. And I think we all know where he stands. You know, as you say, Thurston County's been way out in front of everyone else on this. We opened our boardroom at the very second that the state allowed us to do that, like I lose track of how many years it's been now, a year and a half ago. And I'm willing to be right back out there in front ahead of everybody on open public meetings. Provided, I mean, if we can just get back to like Delta wave, which wasn't, which was way worse than everything that had happened before, then I'm open-minded to go back to where we were. But we're just in the middle, hopefully at the tail end of a crushing wave of Omicron that's still, as Dr. A reported this morning, like 5 times higher than our Delta peak. So I don't think we're quite there. I'm not quite there yet, especially with, as you say, everybody else has never even opened up at all. If Dr. A can get us to those, next couple of weeks and we see and we fall back. That's why I asked her to compare Omicron to Delta. If we can just kind of get back to where we were with Delta and we were doing the hearings open, and I'll be willing to go back to doing what we're doing, but I'm just not quite there right now, given what Dr. A reported this morning. So hopefully it's right around the corner, but I'd like to stand pat for the very present.
Everybody knows where I'm at. So I want to get back to normal tomorrow, or yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. I want to get back to normal. And I think,
Commissioner, I bought an airline ticket in the last week, so
you can see the light.
I'm creeping up there with you, trying to just get back to normal and doing, there's just things that we got to move forward on. I hear you.
Okay. So there's a lot of moving pieces, and I'm very optimistic myself. The Omicron wave will land hopefully better than the Delta, and we see a little bit of blue skies in this horizon. There is already move afoot. The states of California and Oregon are going to be lifting mask mandates. Perhaps the state of Washington may follow suit on that. All that may be materializing in the next 2-3 weeks. So what I'm hearing is, I don't know if Commissioner Mejia has stated would like to continue the virtual. If that is the case, then I will bring this matter again in maybe 3 weeks, just to continue the conversation, if that is the direction of the majority of the board, knowing that Commissioner Edwards clearly where he stands. Okay, sounds good. So I will bring continuous as businesses for now, and I will bring this matter again in 3 weeks. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to item 2, Keep Washington Working.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. This is an item that has been in the works for quite some time. And just a brief introduction. This is related to in 2019, the Washington State Legislature passed the Keep Washington Working Act, also known as the KWW, to establish statewide practices regarding the enforcement of federal immigration laws by state and local agencies and provide improved support of economic opportunities for all Washingtonians regardless of their immigration or citizen status. As you may recall, this legislation was really on the heels of the incident that we have here at the Thurston County Courthouse when ICE agents arrested an undocumented individual who was participating on the law and justice process was going through. So there has been a lot of variations. We have had many meetings with internal stakeholders, and I believe everyone included on this signature has already agreed on what is stated in this particular policy. We consider, Elizabeth and I consider that this is a final draft. One of the last pieces, I believe it was related to how we make a reference to the state patrol, and I believe that has been included. But I would let Elizabeth just to further discuss this policy because she has been heavily involved in this. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Did you want?
So I believe, from your perspective, Elizabeth, you have incorporated all the comments, both internal and external, and
Correct.
this is the final draft.
Correct.
Yeah.
I don't know that this final draft has been circulated with the other people we want to have sign on this document. If you look at the signature page, we have the sheriff and other people, but we basically have just verbatim incorporated their respective policies into this policy. But I think it would be, if the commissioners are good moving forward, I think it's appropriate to then share it with the respective other elected officials that are going to be parties to this. But we've done everything in terms of incorporating the parties' comments and the public's comments.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No, I don't think I have any questions at this point. Looks like
Questions?
a little more to come yet.
Sorry. Commissioner Menser?
I'm good. I know that we've really done it's taken a lot longer, but the net result of that is that we've gotten a lot of good input from different stakeholders. And so I think that from what I've been told, we have a good product. So I'm relying on that input and what Elizabeth has advised us. So I'm good to go forward with what we've got. Whatever her advice is there on the other signatories is fine with me.
Madam Chair?
I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Edwards.
No, I was just gonna ask Elizabeth if this runs afoul of, I don't know, federal or state law at all in any way, shape, or form that you're aware of?
Are you asking me a question, Commissioner?
Yeah, I was just wondering if this runs afoul of any state or federal law or court cases that you're aware of?
There have been some court cases, but not addressing one issue. And in terms of the overarching issue that this policy, one of the overarching issues that policy addresses is the federal ICE practice of arresting people at the courthouse. And there have been several cases on that issue, and ICE's policy has been struck down in all those various cases. So what we're doing is being supported by the courts.
Okay. I know there was something a couple of years ago about some case out of a federal court in Oregon, I think, that was prohibiting us from doing certain things or was causing a problem in this regard. And I don't remember all the particulars now.
I have a question there. I mean, Elizabeth, did we ever get, so there was, originally there was that Massachusetts case, and then we were going to move on this in Washington, and I believe we did, and I believe I submitted a declaration in support of a state case, and did that ever get decided by the court?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've been, it's been spearheaded by the Attorney General's office, and the last communication I had with them was probably in the summer, and they still hadn't got to court yet. A lot of it's COVID driven because of the courts being shut down and things like that. But I will reach out to, that's a good reminder for me to reach out to the Attorney Generals that are working on this case.
And do we know, has the new federal administration thrown those policies out, or, I mean, not that it's moot, because the court should always, or the court could weigh in on the legality of what happened, but I'm just wondering if those policies have been revised. I haven't seen anything in the news superficially, but I haven't been looking.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything either. I think we would hear about it, but I will definitely check with the Assistant Attorney Generals that are working on this case.
Thank you.
And send an email.
Okay, great.
to you.
By any chance, was there something that was connected with this activity and some federal grant money having to do with the prosecutor's office and the sheriff's office on, I want to say it was from, I don't know, drug enforcement or something? We were getting a grant, then we don't get a grant?
That was probably 3 years ago, where the Department of Justice was issuing remind me the name of the
JAG grant.
Yeah, the grant, and at that time they had those strings attached that we needed to cooperate, I believe, with ICE agents at that time. But I believe that particular requirement was removed from the JAG grant, and that's no longer part of that. But you're recalling absolutely correct at that point, and that's when the county did not accept any of those grants because we didn't, I guess at that time, agree with those strings attached.
So now we're eligible again, maybe?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I have a couple questions, Elizabeth. My questions relate to the U and TVISA certification request, and it says for law enforcement agencies, and I see the instruction here for law enforcement agencies, but
What section, Madam Chair, what section?
it is section 9.
What page are you on?
Page 18.
Okay.
So how you and TVISA's work is whenever people can request both from law enforcement and also from the judge, the presiding judge of the court who's hearing, the matter. And it's happened many times. It happened in Pierce County whenever, the certification didn't quite fit in. And I was wondering what the instructions are for requests that come to, either district court or superior court. Are they just to refer it back to the law enforcement agency?
So you're reading section
9, and it's not something that's written on here, and because the requirements of it's for law enforcement agencies only. What I'm seeing here, my question is, when requests are coming to superior court or district court for UNTVISA certifications, are they to refer it to law enforcement agency to fill it out?
I don't have the answer to that particular question. It's not something that I've it does appear that the sheriff's office will act as the coordinator of all requests, maintain tracking. It looks like it's under the law enforcement, but you're wondering if it gets referred back to the court?
Yeah,
or the court just...
sometimes the requests go to the court directly.
Okay. Let me see if there's anything in this document that speaks to that, because I haven't.
And then,
that's not an issue that was controversial or I had questions about before.
and then on page 20, my only thing is there's a lot of words that are together, like on section 5A, information submitted and needs a space, just grammatical.
Okay.
On the last section. I didn't see
okay.
it. On the item C, 5C or 5D?
5A, there's one, it's information submitted as together, and then item 5B, the victim or, and then item 5C, yeah.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
There's actually that issue on a number of pages.
We'll go
Okay.
through a review. Okay.
Just do grammar check will take care of that.
Okay.
Okay,
So what I have is we will follow up on the question Commissioner Mejia had related to what will be the process and when the courts receive certification requests for the U and T visas, and whether this document addresses that. Is that the
and
question?
it doesn't have to be addressed in the document. It was more of a question because I know those requests do go to it. When I used to work in an immigration law firm, I remember several times where we would go through the courts instead of the law enforcement agency. So I was just wondering if the process is to just refer all of them back to the law enforcement agency now, or, you know, will there be just two different processes?
Okay.
Okay, we'll follow up. Go ahead. We'll follow up on that. We go through and check the grammar and spelling on the entire document. And after we provide the feedback to Commissioner Mejia, what I'm hearing the board may be okay to share this with the internal stakeholders just to have the opportunity for a final review. And then we'll bring this item for your formal approval and not come in 2 o'clock Tuesday afternoon board meeting.
But it will be down the road a little ways yet, all right? I mean, it's not gonna be tomorrow.
No, it's not gonna be tomorrow, but
No, or the next, within the next couple of months, maybe?
maybe as Commissioner Messer stated, I think we've been working on this policy for quite some time. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know that there's been a lot of community interest in this too, and we're a little bit behind the ball on this. So again, that question doesn't have to be included. It was just more for my general knowledge. It does not have to be included in the policy.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, if no further questions on that item, we'll move on to item 3, City of Lacey proposed annexation.
Yes, thank you. And this is related to a follow-up to the item that you had last week related to the proposed annexation. Just about the Lois Lake area, Lacey. And this is a citizen's petition. 60% of the impacted parcels have signed that petition. Commissioner Edwards asked for a map, and it's included on the last page of your packet, depicting, who has signed out of those parcels, who hasn't. And here in blue on this map includes the parcels or property owners of those parcels who have signed the petition. And in yellow includes the parcels, those who have not. So I believe that is what Commissioner Edwards was requesting last week. So there is options for the board is to concur with this, which no action. But if you like to take a formal action for the boundary review board to review this, we need to formally request the boundary review board for a formal review. And we need to specify what type of review we will ask the boundary review board to review and so on and so forth. So.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
Do we know, we're going under the 60-40, I guess 60% or something? Is that valuation? Is that what we base that on? Or is it acreage? How does that work?
I think it was 60% of the number of parcels.
Number of parcels?
Yeah,
So it doesn't matter the how many some might be 5 acres and some might be half acre, right? Just the number, solely the number, huh?
Questions, Commissioner Munster?
No.
Okay, so
I will ask the board at this point, what is the direction you want to take? There is a time component to this. And if the board wants to ask the boundary review board to review this proposal, I'd like probably the board to tell me what areas you would like to review, have them review. So I need some specificity. If you're okay with this proposal, then no action is required by you.
I have a question. So if the boundary review is if we're refer to the boundary review board, what exactly would they be reviewing exactly? Just the, which areas are to be annexed and then?
Well, that is the question that I asked. That is the question that I asked the board. If you ask the boundary review board to review these annexations, what would you like as a board for them to review?
Like you're saying, we'd have to make an argument as to why there's a problem.
And as you may remember, a year ago, you asked the boundary review board to review an annexation by the city of Lacey, where I believe Commissioner Edwards was said, you need to expand it. Don't make it irregular. You need to include this particular area. And that was the gist as to how that went. And it was off of Stilicum Road. So the board was specific, asking the boundary review board to expand the limits of that annexation at that time, which through negotiation with the city of council, we landed on a halfway, I believe. And that was part of the review with the boundary review board. In this case, it will be the same. I will ask the board, what is it, if you like to proceed with the review, what would you like the boundary review board to review? Is it too much? Is it too many? Is it
Let me ask
acceptable?
My concern is that this is almost like, what do they call it in congressional districts, gerrymandering or something? I mean, the city picks an area they want to do an annexation. And then they try and lay it out so they get 60% of the participants or number of properties to go along with their proposal. And in the process, they get the other 40% along with it, I think, is the way it works, right?
Well, I wouldn't characterize the intent of the city of Lacey as you stated.
You wouldn't? Why?
I will not.
But up on Kenwood Road there.
But I wouldn't be, I wouldn't be standing here to say the city of Lacey specific has chosen this area just to get 60%.
You wouldn't say that?
No, because if you see the boundaries, this particular annexation is surrounded by the city of Lacey.
Well, except up on Kenwood Road.
Right, so, and I believe this makes logical boundaries. And that's what they do with this city of Lacey. They just close the boundary.
Yeah.
So
I see what you're saying.
So I think they have addressed the peninsula in this case.
Yeah, Commissioner Edwards, I would point your attention, because there's a lot of maps here and none of them are very helpful except the very first one to me.
Yeah.
Which is the big picture view where it's not as colorful, but it shows how when you look at it up close, you're like, that's a weird boundary. But when you look at how it fits in like a jigsaw puzzle, it's actually very logical. It's grabbing all these sort of illogical pieces and then squaring it off on the eastern border. That very first map. Yeah. And it shows that I think it's a pretty logical annexation.
Yeah. Have we had any correspondence from any citizens about this in one fashion or another?
No.
Okay, well, that makes it a little easier. I'm good. I think I'm there with Commissioner Menzer on this.
I'm just not sure what, like what we would ask them to do different. It's
Right.
pretty much
Yeah, me too.
having all those pieces that.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm in agreement as well.
Okay, thank you. So no action. I appreciate it. No further action on this. Thank you. That will take us to Commissioners Equivalent Executive Session. Did Jennifer Walker need to participate? Do we have a different Zoom for this?
Okay. Do I have to announce it?
Hold on. Let me check if we have a different Zoom. I am not quite sure.
It's so hard to hear him sometimes or understand.
Yeah. It's the same Zoom, so let me, okay, I got it. Jennifer's here. And Madam Chair, go ahead and announce when you're ready. This will take probably just about 5-10 minutes, you think, Jennifer?
Yes. Okay. So with that, we are heading into executive session per RCW 42.30.110, subsection 1I, to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency litigation or potential litigation, Deschutes Falls Park caretaker. And we will be in executive session for 15 minutes. So with that, we'll close the session. Thank you.
Thank you.